GTii finding a bounce from yesterday's target, yesterday, Wednesday, that is. Let's go ahead and dive right in to see exactly what could happen with price action in the coming sessions. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with a GTii technicals, raw price action, and statistical threat of analysis. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCab. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right into the charts. Okay, so we are in GTii in the hourly chart here, and we're going to start off the immediate short-term time frame analysis with the Crypstex ARC-Series indicators. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and see just what yesterday was suggested. So yesterday we actually did get a long signal, and that long signal has since realized to the upside and it has continued. So that was pretty. We actually talked about the ARC armor indicator, which is actually comprised of several exponential moving averages placed very, very close in proximity to each other, so we can gain this directional wave of motion. Those waves actually are able to provide us with a buy and sell signal as well. So in this case, I apologize, you guys. That's my toddler outside making a lot of noise. Okay, so in this case, you know, we got a little bit of a long signal here. We got a short signal here. It went all the way down, and I actually have been mentioning for a few days now that we still haven't recovered and still haven't printed that long signal. And we have now printed that long signal and have since moved to the upside. So now the enhanced MACD, the ARC enhanced MACD, is also printing an aggressive long signal as well. So this is actually giving us a pretty good understanding as to where we can potentially go. Now let's go ahead and close out ARC Armor and open up ARC DBSI, which is an indicator that actually takes a statistical score from the print of every single candle throughout the entire trading history of the asset and gives us a cumulative score up right over here on the top right of your screen. So in this case, you can see that the bulls are at 96%, bears are at 4%. This hasn't happened for quite a while, and I actually did mention a couple videos ago that the bulls versus bears started evening out, meaning that we were looking at the bulls at 46 while the bears were at 50. So we started noticing the change in the direction. Aside from that, we also did notice in the daily chart, which is right. We actually started noticing on the 5-day chart that we started getting the slowing down of buy pressure in the volume profile. Okay, so since you can see that there's literally no green bars within this area, and we are now starting to get an uptick of some buy pressure. Okay, so let's go ahead and now move on to the next chart. So this is the chart that we were talking about yesterday, Wednesday. So we did mention the potential of us finding a bounce from this demand zone right here. We actually did pop up some Fibonacci retracements as well, and we did notice that we had the 1.618 at 43.89. Okay, now the entire trading or the entire demand range down here was actually consisted of a few historical targets that we had actually seen, from prior iterations, starting from here, this candle here, this candle using it as resistance here. So we have all of those iterations were actually, July 27th. Then we had another one on September 29th. This other iteration was on October 24th. The most recent iterations were, November 10th and also January. Wow. Okay, so you should know that it's November 10th, 2020 and February 2nd, 2021. So I'm just trying to say that historically we've had this zone of the demand zone here has been used frequently. Okay, so we did my bottom target to everybody was actually 47.38. It came down to about 45.57. And here it goes. ARCa's going to start getting those comments. Oh, you can't do technical analysis. You don't know nothing. But interestingly enough, I actually called the bottom from up here from November 1st. At what price was that? $4.54. So please excuse me if I didn't get that 47.38 dead on from $4. All right, so you keep believing what you believe, okay? It's no problem at all. I'm going to continue doing as I will, regardless of your opinion, okay? So here we go. Now, let's go ahead and move on to what's very important for me to share with you is the fact that we're now starting to get a couple flashes of the signals that we've been looking for the statistical data. So now, in this particular case, we are looking at a potential, excuse me, you guys, hold on just a quick sec. My apologies. My toddler is making a lot of noise right outside. Okay, so we are looking at volatility here for the new viewers. Volatility represented by this indicator BBWP. Now, volatility is direction neutral. We pair this with an indicator like this one here. This is called stochastic momentum. Stochastic momentum is actually an indicator that I've back-tested in the 3-day chart throughout the entire trading history of GTii, and it has gotten us 90% move to the, I'm sorry, in accuracy in guessing the asset's direction. So yes, not perfect, but it's pretty damn close and very good to consider. Several days of many hates and many people mocking me have whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that I've been waiting for this trajectory to start happening. So this is a line that I've drawn with the implied projection that we're looking for the direction of the momentum. So please remember, as long as this is pivoted towards the downside, we have a 91% chance that we're going down. Okay, so you take those odds however you want to take them. So now this particular direction, I actually spoke to everybody several days, and I started telling you guys that please take a look right here. That pivot right there, that's actually on December 7th. I started calling out that pivot and saying this is actually telling us that we're starting to slow the sell pressure, okay? That buy pressure may actually start coming in since we're reaching that demand zone at 47.38. That is, that was a very important target. Now, from today's session, you can actually see we absolutely pivoted. So we are looking at a potential continuation slightly to the downside, maybe sideways trading, but this is going to take some time to resolve. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the curvature, the entire pivot that I've been talking to you about for days to fulfill, to actually make its way up to the upside. And now we also do need the volatility component of BBWP and the moving average, both within the critical volatility zone, which I consider to be anything above this 90% red line here. Okay, so whenever we're in the 90 percentile or at this 90%, we do have critical volatility loading. Okay, so in this case, I am starting to get signals flash so that we can make a statistical upside. Let's go ahead and verify that statistical data now, as there are many people who are very loving about hearing this in particular. Okay, so out of a total 11 iterations that is involving volatility versus momentum profile, I have taken note of that iteration's upside thrust, that iteration's duration, and the amount of times that that volatility versus profile have guessed the upside correctly versus incorrectly throughout the entire trading history, particular to the 3-day chart. So it is kind of a macro perspective. Okay, so upon that back test, I have gotten to a total of 11 iterations, of which 7 were guessed correctly, and this is particular to the volatility versus momentum profile. Okay, so that gives us an averaged upside accuracy of 68.63% with an averaged upside thrust of 3,202.47% over the span of just over 32 and a quarter days, or actually just at 32 and a quarter days. Okay, so the signal is very close to being fulfilled to where we can apply this 32-day average. It's not there yet. It still needs a little more. Okay, so in this case, you can start seeing that the signs are starting to appear. Now, please remember that the 3,200% move to the upside is a statistical value. It is not a certainty. It is comprised of several iterations throughout the entire trading history. For example, here, when that criteria met back here on, let's see, April 30th, 2015, when that criteria met, where we were at critical volatility and we were at extreme oversold at stochastic momentum, that upside move was 39.77%. Okay? But please know that the following the iteration before that one was incorrect. It actually guessed it to the downside and not to the upside, which is one of the iterations to where the stochastic momentum was going up when price action was going down. So that was an incorrect guess. That was an incorrect iteration, hence the 91% accuracy. Okay, so now the following iteration, we have one incorrect, one correct, and the third iteration made a massive 18,959% move to the upside. Who's particularly in the criteria that we were looking for. We were looking for momentum at oversold. We were looking at critical volatility above the 90 percentile, and the contraction phase beginning, and the expansion of momentum. So that move led to an 18,000% move to the upside. Look at this. We have 305% to the upside. We have 297, 1,000%. We have 1,600 there. We have a 100% move to the upside. So you got to see that there are variances within the statistics. Okay, so those are things that we must keep in mind. And also, the most important thing to keep in mind is that the criteria is not there yet. We do need. I will repeat. Okay, we absolutely 100% without a grain of doubt need both of the average lines from the momentum oscillator pivoted towards the upside, and alongside the volatility component and moving average beyond the 90 percentile. Okay, or I'm sorry, within the 90 percentile and beyond the 90% trend line here. Okay, so when that starts happening, the signal can be fired, and then we can start applying our statistical values. Okay, so let's go ahead and just find out what kind of direction we're looking for in the immediate short-term time frame. This is the 12-hour RSI for GTii. Okay, so this is the divergence chart. Usually divergences happen when there is an opposition of price action versus momentum, and in this case, momentum represented by this indicator, RSI, Relative Strength Index. Hold on just a sec, you guys, sorry. Pardon me. Okay, so in this case, I have noted two iterations actually. Do we have a third? Do we have a third one in there? No. I'm just gonna zoom in just a little bit to see if we have a third iteration of divergence here, but no, it's not looking like we do. Okay. So yeah, so we're looking at right now at two drives of primary regular. Of two drives of regular primary bullish divergence. So it usually happens when price action is making a series of lower lows, like from here to here, and it happens when momentum is making a series of higher lows. So we do have, if you just want to, be real picky about it, you can see that the upside pivot is clear. Okay, down to this pivot right here, which is located at this candle. Okay, so we are looking at two drives that are now confirmed for phantom regular bullish divergence. Phantom because we're actually going through price action to get from point A to point B. Okay, so now what can that mean? Well, what I can tell you is that when we print candles like this that have a long wick to the bottom and a quick recovery like this, and it starts to look closer to maybe a bullish hammer, that usually signals a reversal. This is basic candle analysis though. Okay, so you have to actually pair candle analysis with a lot of other metrics so that you can confirm the upside. Okay, so in this case, we do have a bullish candle. We also have bullish divergences. And now let's take a look at all the time frames for the RSI and see just how bullish it is looking. Okay, so let's open up now the 30-minute RSI immediate short-term time frame. Also, please know that for the new viewers, new listeners, I do have actually primarily for the viewers, my apologies. So I do have a diagram here for my RSI properties, and I would like you to focus in on these four zones here as they are located right over here for the RSI. 1, 2, 3, and 4 zones. Okay, all of the RSIs are the same. Okay, so 30-minute immediate short-term time frame is in the bull weakness percentile, and it is above the moving average represented by this pink line. The purple line is the RSI signal. Okay, so we are above it. So this means that we can likely see an immediate short-term pullback before finding support from the moving average, similar to what happened here in this iteration here from December 15th. Okay, so we can actually find a support back and then a continuation to the upside. Now, the bi-hourly RSI is now at the very junction between the bear weakness and the bear strength percentile with an upside pivot. Usually when we're in these junctions from the opposing zone, the gravitational pull is very likely to be pulled into the following zone. And also you can see the moving average is starting to make its slight pivot towards the upside as well on that bi-hourly RSI. Okay, so now the 6-hour RSI is suggesting a continuation to the upside from an oversold percentile. It has since created a bullish cross above the moving average and suggesting aggressively to the upside. Okay, which are words that you have not heard me say in some time. So I will only say them when they're pertinent and when they're appropriate, and these are those times. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how ugly it is or how pretty it is. I do not care about your feelings. Okay, know that. We are talking about the trade. We are not talking about emotions here. So we are looking at an upside also on the daily chart, and it is looking like it's primed to make a bullish cross above the moving average. And you can see the moving average is also starting to make its pivot, finding that bottom. So what is this telling me? So this is telling me that even look at the 3-day, it's now making a pivot towards the upside. Bi-daily is also making a pivot towards the upside. So this is telling me that we're gonna likely see a tiny immediate short-term pullback, likely to test the bottom of this candle here at about 50 cents. The candle meaning the last iteration candle, which is on December 8th print. Okay, so now we have now started our new 5-day candle, and we have started it in a very graceful manner. Okay, so this is looking very good for the GTii asset thus far. So yeah, we can potentially see a short-term pullback, maybe 4 or 5 cents, before continuing on to the upside for a multi-day upside, actually. So there's going to be some choppy action on the way up, but we can still see in the horizon a continuation to that upside. Okay, so aside from that, I can actually see a falling wedge right over here as well. It might be a little too steep for us to call it, but usually when falling wedges start to make their realization, which is typically at about 70% to the apex of the formation itself, we can expect a pretty significant bounce to the upside. Okay, so in this case, it looks like it is coming back to test the newly converted resistance into support of that falling wedge on the 8-hour chart. Okay, so please know that I'm not a financial advisor. Take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as a form of entertainment. Okay, I need you to do your own DD and everything will be just fine. All right, so I think this is a pretty good place for me to leave off the video. If you have any questions or concerns, consider clicking on the links below, and you'll see the Discord there. You'll also see Twitter, and if you are interested in trading like I do and sharing some charts potentially in the near future, please consider clicking on the TradingView link. I am an affiliate now and accepted, and it actually helps me when you create an account. Okay, so with that said, I wish you well, a very good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.